McIntyre. Did it go far enough? Was it a poor person's budget? Was it an election budget? Was it a budget that failed the people of Dominica? Some of the questions I'm sure we'll get answers to as we continue in the afternoon. Welcome again. We're going to take a break and we'll come back, Dominica. We'll come back for more afterward.
When devices are down and boredom strikes, snacks save the day. Stock up on juice boxes, fruit snacks, and the delicious Bisque Farm biscuits available only at Isa Trading Limited. We're not just a store, we're making a difference for you this hurricane season. Going green isn't always easy, especially when options are limited. But at ISA Trading Limited, we're changing that just for you. We're proud to offer sustainable solutions that help you make a real impact, one small step at a time. Say goodbye to styrofoam and hello to our compostable clamshells, trays, and baggage products, the perfect eco-friendly upgrade for your takeout packaging. Because great food deserves a great container, and ours are sturdy, stylish, and earth-friendly. We've got it all. Clamshell bowls and lids, cake plates, corks, round containers, forks, spoons, even free compartment meal boxes, all made from renewable materials like wheat straw, sugarcane baggers, and PLA. Our compostable containers break down in commercial composting facilities, helping reduce waste while keeping your food fresh and your conscience clear. Join the movement. Make the switch. Visit us today at Kennedy Avenue and the Bayfront for all your biodegradable packaging needs. At ISA Trading Limited, we're making a difference for you and the planet.
All you Me Bell Bagay, the biggest mini one-day only Me Bell Bagay market sale is happening in Shimenef in Port Michelle on Saturday, August 2nd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. All tradesmen, housewives, carpenters, vendors, chefs, boutique owners, carpenters, homeowners, gift buyers, gift senders, gift givers. Bring your family, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your business partner. Everybody is taking home only Bell Bagay. From Shimenef in Port Michelle, August 2nd, by bus, by car, taxi, by foot, bicycle, mobilette, and tricycle. Come early to avoid the rush as everything must go. Coffee makers, hot cups, petty tools, portable drills, handle tools, multiple speed, protein vegetable blender, juicers, oyster mini choppers, hyper tough, rechargeable handy power saws, hair dryers, lady spin brush, hair sets. It is all occasion fashionable shoes, and so many other Me Bell Bagay products to choose from. For one day only, Saturday, August 2nd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Shimenef, Point Michelle, Saturday coming.
Do you want more miles for less? Rubis Ultratech Gasoline and Diesel uses advanced fuel technology to optimize your vehicle's performance and improve its fuel economy. By removing deposits, Ultratech maximizes your vehicle's performance, keeping your engine clean and running like new. What does Ultratech greater fuel economy mean to you? You get more miles for less. Put only the best in your tank. Ultratech Fuel, only from Rubis. Get Rubis, get going, get Rubis, get going.
Dominica, get ready for a weekend of GAM, creativity, and culture. The GEMS Artisan Market is coming to the Fort Young Hotel from August 1st to the 3rd, and you're invited to experience the best of local art, craft, music, and community all in one beautiful space. Handcrafted products, painting, locally crafted goods, spoken word, acoustic music, poetry, and more. Come support 32 of Dominica's most talented artisans and enjoy performances from amazing artists. Entry is free, so bring your family, friends, and celebrate Dominican excellence. Follow Gems Foundation on Facebook for more updates and don't miss it. The market is open on Friday from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., and Sunday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Chicken at home, fixing all these on shore, and the thing got you in various offices. But with so big new membership, you want quality products we have that. You want quality services we have that too. Our services will help make your dreams come true. That's the fact. Hurry now to NCCU, your community financial partner. Yes, support you through all disaster. And NCCU trust us we care. The kind of loyalty you cannot find anywhere. National Cooperative Credit Union, education, training, and information. Self-help, responsibility, democracy, equality, solidarity. NCCU, we have no heart for our members. So become a member today in one of our local offices to help us make your dreams come true. 255-2126. NCCU, your community financial partner.
The government of Dominica has declared a national firearm amnesty. If you have an illegal gun, now is the time to turn it in. No charges, no questions. If you know someone with an unlicensed firearm, say something without saying your name. Crime Stoppers Dominica keeps you completely anonymous. Call 1-800-8477. That's 1-800-TIPS. Your voice stays hidden, but your action could save lives. Let's protect our island together. A message from Crime Stoppers Dominica and this station.
If you know quality, then you must know the manufacturers of Dominica's finest rums. Belfast Estate Limited, over 80 years leading the industry with exceptional standards and formidable customer service. We present the manufacturers of BB Rum, Soca Rum, Red Cap Rum, Cask Rum, and the signature Belfast Estate Rum Punch. With island-wide distribution daily, Belfast Estate Limited has cemented its mark as the distributor of choice for products like Eldorado range of rums and creams, Kubali Bear, Corona Bear, Guinness, Root Boy drink, and of course, Sunblast juices, Tapas snacks, Vitamalt, and Pine Hill juices. Call the office at 440-7032 or visit the distribution outlet at Jimmy Dominica. Follow on Facebook or Instagram at Belfast Estate. Belfast Estate Limited, your leading manufacturer and distributor of rums in Dominica.
Dominica, we're here. I'm sure we're going to have another interesting discussion there. In the house, on the left, Mr. Ito. It's almost like a boxing match, you know. It's not a boxing match.
In the green corner.
In the green corner. And on the right, Mr. Joshua Francis. I'm going to start out the discussion here. Of course, we will delve in a few points. We heard the Minister of Finance speaking to, some items, VAT exemptions, effective October. As a matter of fact, there's a joke floating around, because one guy said this morning, the fact that he spoke about VAT exemptions on canned corned beef. He was looking for corned beef in plastic containers now. So let's start that way. Big promise there from the Minister of Finance, Irvin McIntyre.
To continue supporting families across the country, we'll be expanding the list of exempted items in the upcoming financial year for a period of 6 months. Exemption of value-added tax on salted herrings, codfish, onions, garlic, split peas, red beans, black-eyed peas, lentils, pigeon peas, cream of wheat, cornmeal, oats, luncheon meat, canned corned beef, canned herring, canned sardines, canned tuna, canned mackerel, cereals, wheat, bran, etc., biscuits, unsweetened as well, orange juice, tomato ketchup, toothpaste, laundry detergents, toilet paper, sanitary napkins. And Mr. Speaker, will also remove import duty on pigeon peas, luncheon meat, canned corned beef, cereals, biscuits, orange juice, tomato ketchup, toothpaste, laundry detergent, almond milk, soy milk. These additions will take effect October 1, 2025.
All right, Dominica, we're here. Let me first start off with Mr. Ito from the Dominica Freedom Party. Did the finance minister is talking about cutting costs. Did he go far enough in terms of these exemptions and VAT exemptions?
Well, Matt, let's look at it this way. I mean, we have been many, many years with a high cost of living, right? We have been many years, decades probably, with a high cost of living. And finally, the government wants to give the impression, and I say impression, of trying to do something about it. But again, as always with this government, it's always smoke and mirrors. It's always illusions. It's always the Wizard of Oz approach, where the little man is sitting behind the screen and projecting great things onto the screen which do not exist in reality. That's the approach that this government takes, and that is again the government is taking, and it's gimmicky approach with red beans and it's saltfish and it's this and it's that and so forth. While these are in fact staples of the Dominican diet, and in fact, a reduction, long-term reduction in the cost of these items would have, I think, a measurable impact on the cost of living, at least in the food arena for Dominicans. It is for a limited period. It is for a short-term period, and further. So what happens at the end of this? What happens at the end of this holiday, and when people have to eat red beans again? Right, we're right back to where we are. So this is nothing more than giving an impression. It's a complete illusion that somehow this government is doing something about the cost of living. Further, by simply removing the VAT on those items, the government is reducing its revenues with no indication of where and how it aims to make up that revenue shortfall. So it's even making the tax base, the sustainable base of this economy, of this budget, even smaller, while it relies even more heavily on CBI revenues, which themselves are going down. So the government is, in order to finance its gimmick, is taking a very risky step here in reducing the overall revenues coming into the government with no indication of a sane, sustainable, rational plan to move forward.
You use the word illusional. You want to stick to that?
I absolutely want to stick to that. I want to highlight that because the illusions is what this government is all about. It gives the illusion of progress. And in all of this budget, you will look at these little tidbits, these interesting little things it throws out there, so that it can create a wall of sound. You see, it can create a wall, an illusion of many things that happen. And the government is making progress. But when you really look at it, and you look deep into it, you see the limited nature of this, you see the non-transformational nature of this, you see it for exactly what it was. So absolutely, illusion is the right word.
So it's not going far enough for you. No?
It's not even going near too far enough. It's not even the beginning of the beginning, you know. So not at all. There's nothing transformational about a temporary cut in VAT on a few food items that is transformational to the cost of living and the inflation worries of Dominicans. So no, not at all. This is purely a gimmick, in my opinion.
Would you let me just get Joshua some views on that? Joshua, your opinion, yes? Go ahead.
Good afternoon and good
Thank you.
afternoon to your listeners.
Mhm.
First of all, Matt, let me just give a very brief comment on the budget address.
Okay.
Generally, this budget lacks substance. There's nothing in this budget to suggest that Dominica's economy is going to be transformed for the benefit of the average or ordinary Dominican. It lacks substance, it is uninspiring, and certainly it is not going to create jobs and to lower the inflation level in Dominica. Certainly not. So I'm very disappointed. The budget address reflects some fanciful words and more politics and less economics to bring meaningful transformation to the lives of Dominicans.
Mhm.
And the question is, who is going to gain and who is going to lose? Because we saw certain areas in the budget address which suggest that some people may gain, but again, while some people may gain in the right hand, the government is going to take it back in the left hand, and we'll get to that. But to answer the question which you have given us thus far in respect to the exemptions on certain food products, this reflects what we have here before us reflects
Mhm.
a problem with this government, one which they have had to wrestle with over the past 25 years. A government that is very shallow and vacuous. Because yeah, it is, we are talking about an economy where people are crying. Mothers are struggling to provide for their children.
Mhm.
Fathers are struggling to bring in a disposable income to sustain their families. People are struggling to meet their mortgage obligations and so on and so forth. And it is clear to everyone and known to everyone that this country is heavily dependent on imports. And it's a shame that a country like Dominica, which boasts that it has fertile soils, which is a fact,
Mhm.
and abundant water, this government has failed and continues to fail to provide incentives to boost local production and to secure food security. And that is a troubling issue because we have no control over external shocks. We are just a little TTW in the sea.
Mhm.
So there's nothing that we can do or fail to do that is going to stop inflation on the global stage. What we have control of is our soils, our waters, and our human resource. And we put confidence for those who believe that this government is doing something in a government to create jobs, to increase food production, and to lessen our dependence on imports. So, as Ito says, the government has suggested that it's going to remove VAT on a few food items for 6 months, man. This is laughable because for 6 months, some people will enjoy paying less for these items. And after that, the prices are going back up.
But how much less though?
Well, that's another thing. And even if it's substantial, Matt, at the end of the day, even if you were to buy all the oats, all the corned beef, it can only last for a period of time. So in that 6 month window period, you may want to buy as much as possible. But some of these items will be perishable. And some of them, as you know, I heard a lot of canned stuff, which is of another concern again, because we know that we have a high non-communicable disease rate in Dominica. You're encouraging, hypertension. You're encouraging people to go and buy, and eat a lot of canned stuff, as opposed to providing the incentives for farmers to get into animal husbandry. That is what a visionary government does. A visionary government
So
doesn't exacerbate.
there's no vision there.
There's no vision, man, because at this stage, we are not supposed to be talking about let's remove VAT on corned beef, let's remove VAT on this. We should be on a table discussing with our farmers how They can get into animal husbandry. What do they need? How can we improve your production? And we're not even talking about regional markets or export. We are talking about local consumption, because a visionary government will understand that self-reliance is of paramount importance to its people. Look at what is happening in Guyana. I don't know if you read an article which was in global circulation a few weeks ago, saying that Guyana now is self-reliant. Guyana is the only country in the world right now which can provide everything to itself. It doesn't need to import. We may not be close to that situation, but we can do so much better. And the budget once again reflects the absence of that type of vision and that
So
type of
what is
understanding.
preventing us from doing much better, though?
Politics. It's all about political gratification. And Bernard used a few adjectives to describe the situation with his government. When you really look beyond what was presented and you really digest it, you come to the conclusion there's nothing to hold on to. There's nothing that has been presented that is going to make our lives better. Because, Matt, the reality is, how are you going to measure somebody's life? If a man goes home with a disposable income of $500 right now, within the next year, you want him to go home with $700, $800, because money is power. And the quality of his life is determined by what services he can buy. Where can he send his children to school? The quality of education that he can give his children, the type of car that he can drive. Yeah, already the government is telling the poor people of Dominica, do not bring in vehicles which are 15 years and older. You're going to have to pay an additional $3,000 to $10,000.
$10,000.
So more pressure on ordinary Dominicans.
So it's not a poor man's budget.
Well, Matt, there's one or two little goodies. You must give it to this Dominican Labour Party that every year they present a budget with one or two little social programs to make the ordinary people think that the Labour Party is for all. They're standing for all. But beyond that, the Labour Party has done more damage and more harm to ordinary Dominicans. We're looking at the decimation of the middle class. You're looking at more dependent people, more frustrated people. You're looking at a growth in brain drain. I mean, it doesn't take much for you to just take a drive in the rural places over the weekends. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when you drove from Roseau to go up to Marigot or to Wesley, you meet people in the little shops, you meet people in the bars, you will see some kind of economic activity taking place. Now, when you go there, you're basically going to social graveyards. People are leaving. The population is on the rise in the rural places. People are going elsewhere because they find the pasture here is too dry and not succulent. So they're going to Antigua, St. Kitts, and other neighboring islands to get greener pastures.
Without a census, of course, and you guys I know you believe in data. This is my friend Ito, scientist there. And in the absence, somebody's pointed out this morning, in the absence of the population census that we have actually avoided there for many years, how does this government seriously respond to social and economic needs of the people? Because this government appears to be making decisions. Somebody's pointing out that there's an absence of data and information. How do they make the kind of decisions?
Well, that's a key question, and that's a key consideration. We need to be a data-driven society, not just data-driven in the inputs, but also outputs, because we need to see the data on the results of these various budgets that are presented. But year after year, this government presents a budget, but it never presents the outcomes of that budget. What did we actually accomplish for that money spent? Did we accomplish the goals? And we need a forward-thinking, modern-thinking, metric-driven government to come not only to present a budget, but to present a set of metrics and measurables on outcomes and say, these are the outcomes that we expect to get in the next fiscal year. And here are the measurements to those metrics from last year, so that we become a society where
so there's nothing
to
compare and contrast there. Huh?
Well, there's nothing to compare to say we actually accomplished it. You could spend 100 million on education and get nothing out of it, or get foolishness out of it, or get people not educated in the right things out of it. So we not only have to measure the inputs, we have to measure the outputs and the correct outputs. Now, the thing on the thing related to the census is very important, because there's undoubtedly a shrinking population in Dominica.
Yeah, no doubt. So we don't have 72,000 people.
No. There is no doubt that we have. And now you have a pressure of, and the Social Security themselves has highlighted that and said, look, we have a shrinking population that cannot sustain the retirees. But there's nothing in the budget to address the shrinking population problem. There's nothing in the budget to revolutionary to say, listen, we have a shrinking population. We have to be more export oriented. We'll not be able to depend on the local economy. So we have to change strategies to be high value producers in the global economy. There is nothing that addresses that demographic crisis that's occurring in Dominica. There's nothing in the budget that even shows awareness of this. So we have a shrinking tax base. We have a CBI program which is on the verge of going away, and nothing in the budget addresses this. They all seem to be living in ignorance and in pie in the sky projections, and not addressing the realities of what's really going on.
Let's take I want this program to be very interactive. I'll take a few calls. Are you there, caller?
Good afternoon, Mr. PLT.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
The two political leaders there. Mr. PLT, this only clip that you just played from the Minister of Finance. Did you notice anything? And this is one of the things I want to really people to close attention to. Did you realize not one of the items for tax exemption is made in Dominica? Did you realize all these items are imported?
Mm-hmm.
Did the government do analysis or data on finding out which of those items that they want to give the tax exemption on, that is consumed most of the island, which regions, part of the world that they are coming from, the product that probably sell the most, the product they probably could work with the suppliers together with to bring it together, kind of like how the Chinese do, they all buy their stuff together and they bring the content ship. Not one of those items. A government that really cares about the people, this is the very same government that spoke about a population growth and believe in population. Did you have any tax exemption on baby formula, on diapers, or anything to help reproductive system, like on medication? I mean, let's be real. Let's be real. And these are the things that the politicians in Dominica need to pay attention to. What is the biggest need in Dominica to help the economy grow and to help population grow? Not one item for reproductive rights or to able to help increase Dominica's population, like baby formula, medication or discount for people having children at the hospital or anything like that to help population growth. But you're talking about population growth and how we can grow an economy. The second thing is, tax exemptions are good on certain foods, because actually I was thinking of preparing something like this to present and what would a budget look like for Dominica. And one of them was, as one of your the political leaders said on your program, is that how are they going to supplement this income from the tax supplements that they give? How are they going to supplement that? Instead of looking at reality and you have a 15% VAT tax and said, okay, for the period so and so, we're going to remove the 15% VAT on all essential food items. Now, let's say we can for essential food items from a certain percentage on up. Secondly, if you're trying to, this is the same government that's saying we want you to grow local, eat local, but there's nothing for the farmers like decreasing or removing the VAT and other pot charges on animal feed ingredients for poultry or swine or dairy. Okay? So those guys, when they do things, I don't know if they just do it for political gimmick or something like a smoke screen, as they just said. But we need to look at the fundamental issues of the country, where they fall short, what a government can do to give the people of Dominica buying power, but also reinvest these funds into farmers, into manufacturing. So these are the things that, like tomato ketchup, can't we grow together for the CBI programs and have tomato farmers like short crop farmers and be able to put a small plant together? It's so simple to make tomato ketchup. You can even make tomato ketchup at your home. So these are the things. Instead of giving the taxpayer, why don't you take this money, or if they can tell us, oh, this VAT money is collected, and to put factors in place to that. Mr. Pett, you have to guess, and I will take your debate. But these are the things that we need to open our eyes and face the reality. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for your wonderful contribution here. Somebody's saying, and of course, we'll have our commentators there speak to that. So instead of investing in smoke fish industry, keep taxes on cereals to incentivize people to consume farine and toloma. We make them cheaper. Yes, somebody can understand the realities. We should invest in our local farmers.
Well, definitely, and that's for several reasons. There's a saying, you eat what you grow. Generally, most of us are involved in organic farming, and we know the benefits of eating organic produce.
Mhm.
So, as far as our health is concerned, it's better to eat local. Furthermore, when you import certain things, especially non-canned products,
A lot of salt there.
a lot of salt and preservatives, so things which are not the best for our health. So, from a health point of view, it's better that we eat what we grow. Secondly, we have a very high import bill, like most Caribbean countries, and that continues to be an economic hurdle for us. And one would think that in 2025, the government would provide more incentives to encourage local production, hence reducing the import bill. So, in the fiscal arrangements, it would look better for the country. And as far as the health of the nation is concerned, it will be better. And of course, it's always better to be more self reliant, given that when we depend on supply from abroad, if there are disruptions, then we suffer. And it appears we have not learned from Hurricane Maria. We have not learned from the COVID period. And clearly, we are not interested in learning from a governmental point of view because the budget makes very little provision for local production. If you look at the budget address, I think the
So
Minister of
nothing in
Finance.
there, nothing in there for the farmers per se.
Well, I mean, how much was allocated for the farmers, if you
I think
recall?
about 40 million. From what I
Right.
gathered.
So they
47.
right. So
Yeah.
so monies are being allocated for agriculture. The question
But not
is,
enough?
where is that money going? That's the other question. And is that money involved in training farmers, in encouraging young farmers to get into the business, in providing supplies?
Feeder
Those are the
roads.
questions. Improving the feeder roads, improving access. Those are the questions that we have to ask. So it's not just about hearing the figures. Okay, we're going to put 40 million in agriculture for the fiscal year 2025 to 26. How are you going to allocate that money within the Ministry of Agriculture? Who is going to benefit? And what is it going to be translated to? Because at the end of the
That's
day,
the
it's
key question.
one thing to present a budget, and the other thing is, are you going to get tangible outcomes? Ultimately, what a budget is supposed to do is improve the lives of the citizen of the nation. A budget is supposed to provide government estimates as to how it's going to raise its revenue and how it's going to spend that money with the objective of making lives better. And I'm not confident that this budget will achieve that objective.
On the telephone, hello. I'll come back to you, Ito. Yes?
Good afternoon, Matt,
Good afternoon to you.
and good afternoon to your esteemed guest.
Yes.
So I listened to this VAT-free item. So I may not eat corned beef, I may not eat sardines, I may not eat of meat, but I'm still buying fish. What are the concessions for the fishermen with the high gas prices they're paying so that the citizens can buy fish at a more affordable rate? What about if it's bread stock and plantain pap and cassava pap I want to eat instead of cream of wheat and oats? What is the allocation for the local farmers producing for population? What about the vegetables? What is allocated for them? That $40 million, where is it going? I mean, this needs to be across the board. This needs to affect everybody. The small farmer, the big farmer, the big supermarket owner, people who want to buy in supermarket and out of the supermarket, in the local market. Not cover all aspects of living, and we're looking at holistic living, we're looking at healthy living. This does not promote healthy living. All them cancer they talk about, that's what we want to promote. And I'm listening.
All right, thank you very much. You're making a very important point there, Ito.
Well, yes, and I think it's the point that we many of us have raised. Right, is about looking at with our X-ray eyes. Because in dealing with this government, you have to have a special X-ray to see through the BS. Right, you got to see through the deception in a sense, in the broader sense of the word. um, you've got to see when things are being done simply for political gimmicks, and then you got to see through the thing. And what this budget shows you is that there is nothing being done on the productive side of things. So we must conclude either the government does not care about the productive sectors, or that it's a political sort of vote getting gimmick, because it's always on the end product. It's always on what the person can buy directly at the shop. It's always I lower, give me a little handout, or lower my bill a little bit. It's always at a very personal, hand to hand level that this government focuses on. And this approach does exactly that. It does not focus on, let's give a break to the producers. Well, let's be strategic and look at how we can reduce the import bill. How can we become increase food security? How can we do things to reduce the cost of living for long-term sustainable plans, instead of a gimmick of 6 months reduction on canned goods, which, as the lady said, is not the sort of health direction that we want to go in our country. And so it's a very important point. But it shows you that whole incentive, while the good, and people might say praise and thanks, and this looks wonderful from the government, the supporters will say, but what it actually shows you is that this government is not strategic. It is not intelligent in the way it approaches things. It doesn't try to do sustainable things that are self-reliant, that can grow, that can transform the economy. And so actually it's a demerit on them. It's a demerit. This approach is a demerit, not something to be shouted and praised.
On the telephone, yes?
Good afternoon, Matt, and good afternoon to the panelists.
Yes.
Matt, it would be good for us to do a review of the past budget to see how much of that has been implemented, and how much projects of the past budget that in line or is on stream as we speak. Because from 10 to 10 years, the government passing a budget, and then 1 month, 2 months after that, they're going for overdraft again. So it might just be the same thing again this time around. They will come to pass a budget, and before the Christmas or January, you go and hear them asking for overdraft. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to you. And the person is making a point, because somebody has texted me this morning and said, Matt, in the 2023-24 budget, they promised the government to raise the salaries of public officers by 6%. They got 0%. Nothing was done there. And in that same budget, in that same year, ministers got 30%. And nobody spoke about it. So one of the promises never become a reality. That's what is happening there.
Well, Matt, I just want to stick in the points and compliments to Mr. Sanford, Claudia Sanford, who did some calculations in respect to increase in wages for public servants and that of cabinet members. And his figure shows that in the past 25 years, public servants' salaries have increased on average by 9%, whereas that of the ministers have grown by over 120%.
120%.
Now,
Wow.
if you go back, just to authenticate or substantiate that claim, you can think of what was a minister's salary in 2000 and what is it now. Just recently, there was a 40% increase. And when you hear about increases for public servants, you're talking about 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. So on average, you have seen an increase of just about 9%. The inflation rate has risen much more than 9%. So you can imagine the economic realities for public servants.
Is that fear to the public office?
No, it is not. But again, the government has problems in growing the economy. And the reason it has...
But if you have problem growing the economy, why do you pay yourself 30% more?
Well, it's just about, again, self-interest over the public's interest. We have several examples where certain ministers and politicians have shown that behavior. That is their character. It's about themselves and their friends. A lot of them are not true to the people. They didn't go into politics because they want to see lives better for people. Their first objective is to make life better for themselves and their friends. I mean, when you're a minister of government and it's alleged that you own businesses and getting government contracts, you have somebody fronting for you. when your friends are the ones who are getting the CBI approved projects to build hotels. It's clear, Matt. I mean, we're not going to go down this alley right now. By now, all Dominicans should know how corrupt the system is. But we want to focus on the realities as far as this budget is concerned. I wanted to pay attention because Bernard made a point about this government not creating an environment to grow the private sector. And that is another fundamental problem with this government. In the last 25 years, have you seen a growth in the private sector in Dominica? I mean, you can think the opposite may have happened. The private sector may have contracted, given that a number of businesses had to leave the market. And even our little vendors, our little shops, they are struggling in Roseau. The Chinese are taking over the spaces because the local vendor is struggling. Now, I think the Minister of Finance spoke about providing incentives, and he spoke about 41 companies getting concessions. Let me hear what he says here. He says here that the government recognizes the private sector as an indispensable engine of national development, yes, and it has therefore resolved to provide targeted, meaningful support to both local and foreign investors through a fiscal incentive regime administered by the Invest Dominica Authority. And then he goes on further to say, as we speak, 41 companies are benefiting from a range of concession packages. These include exemptions on import duties for hotels, hotel supplies, operational equipment, vehicles, and raw materials. It will be very interesting to note what would be the nature of business being done by these 41 companies. Who owns them? What are they doing? How many people are they going to employ? I think the minister spoke about 241 potential jobs from these companies, which appears to be in infant stages. Again, the budget provides no real details. It's a smokescreen. So when you ask questions, you may not find answers because here we have 41 companies. What are these companies involved in?
Right.
What
Who owns this company?
41 companies. He's saying 41, Matt, not one, 41. Yet Dominica has the lowest foreign direct investment revenues by a significant gap in the region. Clearly, this government has not done enough, or maybe nothing at all, to encourage foreign investors to come in. Yeah, I'm not talking about the CBI program, because these people, they get their passports, these investors,
Then they don't come.
and a lot of them, buy shares in these hotels, and they don't care.
They don't even make a trip to them.
Yeah, they go through the real estate option. They make their contribution of 200,000 US. They get their passport and they turn their backs.
They're gone.
They're gone.
There's no economic engine there.
So it's not like what happens in Antigua and St. Kitts, where Ito, who is a foreign investor based in Turkey, he looks into the Caribbean and he looks at the islands and he says, Dominica environment looks conducive for business. I can make a profit there. The physical infrastructure is good. The ease of doing business is good. Government has tax holidays. I am going to come in here. No, it's clear that when foreign investors look into Dominica, there is something or some things which dissuades them. Because you're hearing about investments in St. Kitts, in Antigua. I'm not talking about CBI. We are talking about wealthy people who wants to diversify their portfolios and who wants to operate in different geopolitical spaces. And they look into the Caribbean, and Dominica has not been an option.
Let's take a phone call. Are you there?
Good afternoon to you, Martin. How do you do, sir?
I'm here.
And good afternoon to your distinguished gentlemen, Mr. Bernard Ito and my good friend Joshua Francis. And this one, I've heard the political leader of the United Workers' Party giving a synopsis as to what, that thing, well, I call it canteen budget. Well, that canteen budget, offered to Dominican. And it is important that we look at, certain areas that concern the general public. And so, Matt, let me tell you something. I have 3 areas of concern with respect to the budget. Yeah, I have other areas, but just quickly, 3 areas. And I know the gentleman may have touched on it, but it really concerns me. When you look at the allocation of the budget, Mike, with respect to what is happening, you know that the budget estimates comprises of the recurrent expenditure and the capital expenditure. In all, we have a $1.3 billion budget. Fair enough. You know what is frightening about that budget? And I'm going to just weigh the Prime Minister's office allocation versus the agriculture allocation. Now, the Prime Minister's office on the capital expenditure will have an allocation of $357 million. And under the recurrent expenditure to take care of current expenditures, Matt, 10 million, a total of $367 million. Matt, that in itself represents 28% of the total budget. Compare now agriculture, Matt, that receives 8.9 million on the recurrent expenditure and 23.4 million on the capital expenditure. A total of $32 million, representing a mere 2.4% of the total budget. A disparity with respect to percentage, 26% disparity, and if you have to equate that to dollars, $345 million disparity. Matt, what is so important about a prime minister's office that so much or a high percentage of that allocation of the budget has to be targeted to the prime minister? I will leave that to the Dominican people to at least analyze and to make further comments. I have another issue with respect to the 300 acres at $1 per square foot. That is not a problem. The 300 acres allocated for or intended to be allocated for young people to farm, I don't have a problem. At $1 rental per acre per year. Fair enough. They clap that. You know what it is. Not a responsible government will not just do that, you know. A responsible government will take the approach of one, ensure that a level of zoning, land zoning will be done in order to carry out the appropriate crop planting, Matt, or the livestock production required on those lands. A responsible government would ensure that farm infrastructure would have been a priority on this land, so that when the people occupy, the young people occupy this land, that should they fail, we can say, or the government can say straight, you have no reason to fail because we have given you the necessary infrastructure. And I talk about infrastructure like irrigation, where we have pronounced or real lengthy periods of drought, where you have a water source, we will be able to irrigate so that we take care of the water deficit. Not feeder roads. Feeder roads, you have to ensure that these lands have feeder roads. You've heard no mention of the feeder roads for these areas targeted for the young people. What about shed farms and toilets? We have not heard that. What about establishing buffer zones to ensure that you maintain the interest of environmental preservation? And so, Matt, I say these things to tell you that while the government boasts about feeder roads, I have the last point to make about what I have concerns about.
Go ahead.
But let me just highlight that for you, that the government in itself says, with the 300 acres that they are going to make allocated to young people to get into farming, they talk about at the Bleming area, Felicity Hall in Wesley, Newfoundland, and Savagnoc. But Matt, it is interesting, if these guys were serious, how then you reach at that? To tell me now the roads that you have highlighted to rehabilitate. You talk about the Niba Road in Layu Valley, the Captain Bruce Road in Marigot, the Mero Road in St. Joseph, the Station Road at Laplin, the Dalfossy Road in Grand Coulibre, the Cowan Road via Salisbury, which is in the Salisbury area, Buck Burnett Feeder Road in Portsmouth, and Mop Road in Granby. Matt, have you heard me mention any feeder road rehabilitation for the areas that the government targeting for the young people?
Not yet.
Not yet, and it is not in the budget. So it means that a serious government would ensure that they target improvement of feeder roads to ensure that the young people would have ease of access to these lands and to make sure that they can improve on their quality with respect to the road. And Matt, I don't want to take the gentleman time, that is their time, and the final point I would like to make, because I can expound on that later at another time, in another program. But let me just say, the budget, the concern I have again, Matt, with respect to acquisition of land in Roseau Central. I don't know how again that when you one good friend told me on Saturday, I visited the West area and see the airport that will not finish anytime soon. In Fungus State and where they are, they're not going anytime soon. One good thing a guy told me, one, acquisition is good. Government acquire land, you negotiate, and then you pay. But it is very interesting that in Roseau Central, the government has seen it fit to tell me, Matt, that they would acquire land, Matt. They would acquire land on behalf of persons who have land disputes or some issues. And they would acquire the land just to give to the favorite person they have or the person that have interest in it. Matt, let me forewarn this government, that is a bad move. Matt, the most 90% of problems we have with land in Roseau and elsewhere is not that you have disputes per se, no. Just that family members may not be able to direct themselves now, or they may not come to a common ground as to what it is that they want to do with the land. So the point is they're at a standstill. But it doesn't mean that it's a dispute that cannot be resolved. I thought the government would be more prudent in its approach and probably say, look, if I want lands to go into commercial use and to incentivize people or to discourage lands being exposed, causing a hazard in Roseau, then you'd impose probably a levy. And if persons already are interested in developing the land, the government can work with the person and probably subsequently it will withdraw the levy. But you cannot tell me that government seems to be eyeing the land in Roseau Central for them to take the land, for them to buy the land, because you know what has happened over the years. Just go and find out who have been able to buy land in Roseau. Land in Roseau is expensive, but the eyes are on the price. So what I'll stop there in a subsequent program.
But before you go, I want you to repeat the figures as it relates to the spending in the Prime Minister's office as versus agriculture. Can you just repeat these figures again, please?
Oh, certainly, Matt. I told you that the $1.3 billion mark, the Prime Minister, with respect to both capital and recurrent expenditure, the Prime Minister office alone is getting $367 million, which represents 28% of the total budget. Comparative agriculture. Agriculture, the allocation between recurrent expenditure and capital expenditure amounts in total to $32 million. That's about 2.4% of the total budget. A disparity of 26%.
So what is really going on there in the Prime Minister's office that difference is so significant? Hold on.
That is what I would like the Prime Minister to elaborate and to itemize when he's giving his presentation, to tell the people of Dominica what is so more important in his office than agriculture, than tourism, than manufacturing, and all the other growth sectors, that his ministry is supposed to attract 28.5% of the allocation of the budget. Tell me what is going on, and he should be able to explain that. Matt, it is not nothing but a canteen budget. It's that canteen budget, can this, can whatever, can this, that canteen budget there. It is more for these guys to continue to wreck the treasury in their favor and in their friends' favor. And later on, Matt, when I'll be on your program anytime, I have probably a stern warning for the president of Dominica.
Okay.
It seems to me I listen to her and how she started with respect to addressing Parliament. I suspect she may have started the debate. If the president has forgotten her role, and by the way, let me compliment her as the first Cardinal president, we congratulate you, we love that. But it seems to me that you have forgotten your role as the president and you seem to have started the debate in terms of competing with members in the House with respect to Lino, and especially as it relates to the CBI. But I'll not go there. The gentlemen, a distinguished gentlemen in your studio, it's their time. They have there, you have invited them. But I just wanted to make it known that this budget has nothing for the ordinary man. Previous budgets have not impacted on the ordinary man. Far less for this one. It will never impact on the ordinary man. And there's nothing for Dominicans except the government's priority and preference for foreign elements. Have a good afternoon, man.
Have a good afternoon there. Well said, so well said. What do you think about the comparison in terms of the spending in the Prime Minister's office versus agriculture, Mr. Ito? Very interesting.
Well, you have to look at it, and that's why I'm waiting eagerly to get the detailed breakdown. Because if you take the budget and you go into it in detail, those you can ferret out that information. That information is there, and when you look at the budget last year, a large portion of this allocation is because the Prime Minister takes all the social programs and rolls it into his office. So many of the social programs are financed through the office. Many of the large capital infrastructure projects are coming directly from the Prime Minister's office. A lot of the CBI costs and processing and all of these things associated with that goes into the Prime Minister's office. And so what it does show and is that the Prime Minister has centralized power, influence over that budget, and the most powerful player in a financial way is in fact the Prime Minister's office, way in excess of any other government department or any other ministry. That's the real lesson of that allocation. But the underlying reason is because the consolidation of many critical functions now in the Prime Minister's office and finance through there directly.
Well, what do you think, Joshua?
Well, yes, I have not seen the estimates, but the estimates for the fiscal year 2025 to 2026 would show the different allocations, the different headings, where that money is going and why it is going, or why is it supposed to go to a certain place.
Okay.
All right. So I'm not going to comment unless I say the figures.
All right. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back, Dominica. Oh, let's take a phone call before we get there. Hello, yes?
Good afternoon. I know you just put me off and you don't allow me to talk, but I'm very surprised in so-so. The Prime Minister's office is the office that takes care of the international airport. That is the largest investment taking place in our country ever. The Prime Minister's office is in charge of the marina in Portsmouth. The Prime Minister office is responsible for a number of other investment projects in the country, and you can see them all around the country, those investment projects. Investment is under the Prime Minister's office. Investment is part of the formula for economic growth, C plus I plus G. The I is investment, right? So the investment gets the largest share of the budget. Period. Simple. For Rosso not to understand that, it's very, very, very pathetic. I mean, the Rosso people must. Let me tell you guys, there are lots of.
But our commentators did say the point you just made. They wanted to see for themselves before they can comment, Clarence. The point you're simply making there.
And we did say that it was a consolidation of power and a consolidation of major projects, like the international airport and other things under the Prime Minister's office. That is known. But the point which Clarence is missing is that there is a centralization of that. There is no independent economic investment unit. There is no power structure, institutional structure to manage that outside of the Prime Minister's office. So it's a consolidation of power. There's no other way to look at it.
All right, I'm sure you guys get the figures. You will break it down.
Right. And Matt, just to add to what Iso just said, it's part of their political strategy. Remember, the Prime Minister has been glorified as the savior of Dominica.
If not scary, who?
If not scary, then who? So by allocating all his funds in his ministry, it gives him the opportunity to take credit for the international airport, for the marina, amongst other capital projects.
Okay. Are you there, caller?
Yes, sir, Mr. Good afternoon to my people, my favorite people.
Go ahead.
And let me say bravo for Soso. Soso is one of the best. And tell the man, the spin doctor, go and do his work. He has to do his work. He never continue his work. Now he wants to work for pittance. Take care.
All right. Thank you. 449-3095. I think we have more callers coming in there. Yes. Talk to me.
Yes. I just heard Mr. Christian making mention about the major projects of the airport and the marina in Portsmouth in the Prime Minister's office. I'm wondering if we don't have a Ministry of Public Works.
So as the guys were saying, maybe as he said, most powerful projects are in the Prime Minister's office. But we're going to take a break. We'll come back. I know the discussion will continue. And Clarence, if you wish, you can call back. I never caught you if you don't talk nonsense, okay? 449-3095-9697. Let's go.
If you know quality, then you must know the manufacturers of Dominica's finest rums. Belfast Estate Limited, over 80 years leading the industry with exceptional standards and formidable customer service. We present the manufacturers of BB Rum, Soca Rum, Red Cap Rum, Cask Rum, and the signature Belfast Estate Rum Punch. With island-wide distribution daily, Belfast Estate Limited has cemented its mark as the distributor of choice for products like Eldorado range of rums and creams, Kubali Bear, Corona Bear, Guinness, Root Boy Drink, and of course, Sunblast Juices, Thomas Snacks, Vitamalt, and Pine Hill Juices. Call the office at 440-7032 or visit the distribution outlet at Jimmy Dominica. Follow on Facebook or Instagram at Belfast Estate. Belfast Estate Limited, your leading manufacturer and distributor of rums in Dominica.
To continue supporting families across the country, we'll be expanding the list of exempted items in the upcoming financial year for a period of 6 months. Exemption of value-added tax on salted herrings, codfish, onions, garlic, split peas, red beans, black-eyed peas, lentils, pigeon peas, cream of wheat, cornmeal, oats, luncheon meat, canned corned beef, canned herring, canned sardines, canned tuna, canned mackerel, cereals, wheat, bran, etc., biscuits, unsweetened as well, orange juice, tomato ketchup, toothpaste, laundry detergents, toilet paper, sanitary napkins. And Mr. Speaker, will also remove import duty on pigeon peas, luncheon meat, canned corned beef, cereals, biscuits, orange juice, tomato ketchup, toothpaste, laundry detergent, almond milk, soy milk. These additions will take effect October 1, 2025.
You need a loan, a chicken at home. 64 feet on shore. NCC will got you in various offices. But with high times of being your membership, you want quality products we have that. You want quality services we have that too. Our services will help make your dreams come true. That's a fact. Hurry now to NCCU, your community financial partner. Yes, support you through all disaster. At NCCU, trust that we can. The kind of loyalty you cannot find anywhere. National Cooperative Credit Union, education, training, and information. Self-help, responsibility, democracy, equality, solidarity. And with you, we have no charge for our members. So become a member today at one of our local offices to help us make your dreams come true. 255-2126. NCC, your community financial partner.
On you move Bell Bagay. The biggest mini one day only Me Bell Bagay market sale is happening in Shimenef in Port Michel on Saturday, August 2nd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. All tradesmen, housewives, carpenters, vendors, chefs, boutique owners, carpenters, homeowners, gift buyers, gift senders, gift givers. Bring your family, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your business partner. Everybody is taking home only Bell Bagay. From Shimenef in Port Michel, August 2nd, by bus, by car, taxi, by foot, bicycle, mobilette, and tricycle. Come early to avoid the rush as everything must go. Coffee makers, hot cups, petty tools, portable drills, hand tools, multiple speed, protein vegetable blender, juicers, oyster mini choppers, hyper tough, rechargeable handy power saws, hair dryers, ladies spin brush, hair sets, and it's all occasion fashionable shoes, and so many other mean Bell Bagay products to choose from. For one day only, Saturday, August 2nd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Shimenef, Point Michel, Saturday coming.
All right, let's go back to the telephones here. And of course, we have our panel, Mr. Ito and Mr. Joshua Francis is here. Let's go back to the telephones. Yes, I will come back. Yes,
Hey,
caller?
Matt,
How are you doing, sir?
gentlemen, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. Yes?
Matt,
You what?
I hope I could be wrong. I hope somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. The developer is the one who is taking all the risk in the international airport project, raise the funds to build the project or something to that effect, and that he will be reimbursed. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. Somebody correct me. If that is the case, then why is it that money is being asked in the budget to the Prime Minister's office for the international airport project? If the developer is the person who is going to raise the to build the airport. Okay, that is my question, because I just heard someone call and say that these major infrastructural projects are under the Prime Minister's office, and so funds would have such. But we were also told that the developer is the one taking all the risk. The money is going to, quote unquote, sell the citizenships. So I don't know if that caller could call back. If that is the case, why then do we have to budget money for that project? Thank you.
Very interesting question, because we have been told, Joshua,
Yes.
that the MMC is the one responsible for raising the monies. Most of the monies for the airport. So why would that come, and be part of the spending?
Well, Matt, there are several questions concerning the construction of the international airport. Remember, several years ago, there were questions about accountability of CBI revenues. And the Prime Minister put it on public record that there is another option. On the books, we have two options in respect to purchasing our citizenship. The diversification option, where somebody makes a contribution of 100,000 US dollars to the government. In exchange, they get a citizenship. And the real estate option, 200,000. In exchange, you get your citizenship. But then he spoke about a third option, which we never fully understood from a legal point of view, because we are not aware there is legislation or regulation to support a third option in acquiring our citizenship. But apparently, from what the Prime Minister uttered, it would appear that this third option is in respect to MMCE selling our passports, getting the monies, and being involved in the public housing business, and now the international airport. So we always had a question as to why isn't that money why is that money not being subjected to parliamentary oversight? And that's where the question came up about the missing $1 million.
Yes, because we're hearing about 9 million, 8 million missing.
Right, because with
Billions,
MMCE assigned with that responsibility, selling the passports, it appeared that they were not providing or accounting for the number of passports they would have sold and the cost of building the public apartments and now the international airport. So there have always been some questions concerning MMCE and accountability of CBI funds. So the question now being posed by your last caller is a legitimate one, because we don't know for sure. We are basically in murky waters when it comes to CBI revenues concerning MMCE.
On the telephone, yes?
Yeah, greetings, Dominic, and greetings to the gentleman in studio, Mr. Francis, Mr. Ito, and Mr. Peltier. I mean, it's sad what we're hearing there from a country that we want to move forward, that have so much potential. A medical doctor that should be doing medical as far as running the medical department in Dominica. Look at what he's doing. And listening to him, he must sound like he's doing a promotion for ESA or something like that when I'm listening to him. You know what I'm saying? It's just sad. It's like playing Monopoly. That's why I see like we are grown men, man. We got to stand up for Dominica. We got to stand for Dominica. We got to speak for Dominica, because that's all we have. Some others can go overseas, but what about those in Dominica? You all cannot go nowhere else. Stand up and protect what you are, what God bless you all with. It's sad, and what hurts me so much, just a gentleman. The man is patriotic to Dominica. The man meets up with the Prime Minister in his office. He refused to sell his soul. An individual saying, the man called the radio station to my brother Blessing, I applaud you, I honor you, and God got your blessings for you, no matter what. Man gonna fail you.
I'm really lost. I don't know where you're coming from, but if you can call back to explain, because this is not part of the discussion we have here this afternoon. Hello, talk to me, yes? I'm lost.
Not isn't it cream of wheat oats cereal? They're not the same thing. Listen to it again.
All right, 449-309-596. But there are other options, other aspects of the budget you wanted to comment quickly.
Yes, we want to highlight what the Minister of Finance, Dr. McIntyre, stated in regards to Kubuli factory.
Kubuli factory.
He said that the government
is having talks with
an
investor.
With an
investor, yes,
to acquire Kubuli. Now, there are so many questions, Matt. Kubuli suffered its losses in 2017, resulting from Hurricane Maria. It took how many years? 8 years for the government to want to intervene in the resuscitation of Kubuli. That's one question. Number two, we would like to know exactly what kind of arrangement that the government would want to have with a company, a private company, in reestablishing.
And who is that
Kubuli.
company?
Who is that company? What are going to be the terms? Who is going to finance? Is it the government, and then the technical and administrative skills will come from the company, or the company will be the financier and technocrats from the government would manage the company? Or is it going to be 50-50? Where is that money coming from? Is it going to come from a loan if the government is the financier? I mean, with all due respect to Dr. McIntyre, the Minister of Finance, once again, what we have here is just a political gimmick. No details. So ordinary persons hearing, oh wow, the government is going, into business with a company. They're going
water coming.
Yeah, water is
Selling,
coming.
yeah.
You understand? It sounds good on paper. But there are so many questions to ask. Furthermore, what makes this so laughable is that the minister spoke about exporting water into Europe. We cannot even export our dash into to Antigua.
Yeah.
You want to export water into Europe?
One of the toughest regulatory markets to get into.
And not only that, Ito, I mean, let's talk about competition. For you to send anything on the regional market, you have to be competitive. Matt, I want to ask you, just recently you traveled, you probably stopped in Antigua, Barbados. Did you get a Tuapito water from
No.
a restaurant out there?
No.
What does that say to you?
We have difficulty sending water to
And
Antigua.
why do we have difficulty sending our waters out there? It's because we're not competitive. The packaging cost, the cost of production in
Transportation
Dominica
cost.
is very high. Transportation cost, packaging cost, processing cost. So somebody is going to have to explain to me, and Mr. Clarence Christian, bless his heart, maybe he will explain to me how it is plausible for this government to undertake a public-private partnership with whichever company
Send water
to
to Europe?
resuscitate Kubuli to the point where they're going to send water to Europe.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, it's the same thing we're talking about, Josh, and we both talked about it, is the smoke and mirrors aspect of this. It just sounds good. It's good song bites. But when you ask for the details and when you ask exactly how you're going to operationalize this, how are you going to do this? And trust me, even if the government has the best intentions, they are going to mess it up because this government is not able, doesn't have the skill set, doesn't have the mindset. We'll put somebody incompetent in charge, we'll siphon off some profit somewhere, allegedly, for different reasons. We'll not have the correct technocrats in place. There will be favors done, and the right technical team will not be in place, and they will mess it up, and it will not happen. But even more fundamentally, why is the government find it necessary for it to go invest in developing water things instead of setting up a climate and an incentive structure and incentivizing private citizens to go into these things so that we don't just have one little company exporting water, but we develop a water industry where we have many private companies taking those wonderful water resources that we have in them and developing an industry and creating thousands of jobs and creating a brand, Water Dominica, on the global market. That's the sort of transformational things, if this government is serious, it needs to do. Do transformational things, big push projects, not little things like, oh yeah, we're acquiring Kubuli and we're going to sell it in Europe without having any idea how you do that.
Well,
hello.
Matt, I want...
Hold on. So, are you the caller?
Yes, gentlemen, I'm puzzled. Someone please clarify to me. We have our Tuapito water, our local born Dominican water, Tuapito, owned by Josephine Gabriel, the Coca-Cola factory management. Would we like to have a discussion with their management and ask them why weren't they interested in taking over the Kubuli factory and blend it into their Tuapito water? Why do we have to bring another foreign company to compete with Josephine Gabriel with our Tuapito water? I would like to see the Tuapito water grow. They're the ones that deserve to be handling the Kubuli water situation. Bless.
All right, thank you. You sound like a marketing manager for my friends there. But we'll ask them for you, okay, on your behalf. Let me just play that clip.
Because running the country is serious business. You can't be joke with it. Because you are entrusted as a government with the lives and the future of our people. And you can't say one thing tonight and tomorrow morning when you wake up, because your head is hurting you say something differently. There must be consistency. You must be serious about it.
To Ito's point, why would we want to put such business in government's hands?
Well, actually, I just wanted to add to what Ito said. And again, that shows the lack of vision of this government. This government operates as a socialist government. It wants to do everything. It wants its hands involved in markets where it's supposed to be away. Those of us who understand basic economics would have learned about the invisible hands. And the United States of America is the king of democracy and capital markets. A visionary government, in as much as it wants to have social nets to take care of the vulnerables, would understand that its economy is not going to go anywhere until and unless it develops its private sector. And that is one of the reasons why Dominica has not been advanced as it's supposed to, because the private sector in Dominica has been saddled in a very narrow tunnel. The government has not provided tax holidays or enough tax holidays and to provide the environment for the private sector to grow. And your last column made a very important point. Why is it that this government has not been able to sit with local entrepreneurs, local business people to find out what it can do to cause them to expand? All the time your callers talk about Bellu factory. It's a shame that Bellu factory fund is deaf and has not recovered. Then you have Garaway. You talk about construction of hotels all over Dominica. What happened to Garaway? Why is it that the proprietors of Garaway were not invited on the table with government officials in determining how the government can use some of that CBI fund
to help you,
to help Garaway? Why is it that Tuapito, the proprietors, Josephine Gabriel and company, may not have sat on the table with the government in determining how the government again could use CBI
and
funds?
somebody's in concluding here that any company buying Kubli operations is fronting for one of the capitalists in government.
And that is possible. And Matt, globally, we know that public-private partnerships really work.
Mhm.
They really work because of distortions, because they oftentimes associated with a lack of transparency, a lack of accountability, corruption. Right. So the right thing that the government ought to have done, if there is really a company out there interested in bottling water out of Dominica and to export, would be to find out what can we do to facilitate that company. And of course, we would want to know it's better if it's a local company, because I'm sure there are local business people.
I really
who
want to
would
know that
to be
formula
involved in
to
that bottling
export
water.
to market this company to the UK.
And to the
that's,
UK,
that's,
I
that's,
mean,
that's special.
Yeah, I mean that's overly
That's
ambitious.
golden water there.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
overly
yes,
ambitious.
yes.
I mean,
And listen, that's accomplishing something we haven't managed in 25 years, and we're going to do it by the next budget.
right.
cycle,
Very, very interesting there. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back, Dominica. This is the talk on the block.
Going shopping for farming supplies. So I ask you, what are you doing inside Bloombox? You have a farm? You tell me, that's how hell sort. I've been married 37 years. Look at my money farm. They say, no, not woman, like land for farming crops. And then you understand, Bloombox is the most affordable on island. Knapsacks starting at only $57.71. Elsewhere, it's $300 plus. Cutlass seeds, seeding trays, nursery pots, sales of potting mix, all at way better prices than anywhere else. Fertilizers, 3-in-1 multi-tool, and so much more. Located on Federation Drive, Goodwill. Second property on the right after the Valley Link Road and on the corner of Drury Lane and Hanover Street in Rosal. Bloombox. Let's bloom together.
Fresh market. When money don't count and money don't hurt you. Fresh market. We are open 7 days a week with the top of the line products. We're on stock, supermarket and pharmacy, health and beauty care, fresh produce and meats prepared daily, hot and cold kitchen, ready to go meals, sandwiches, salads and desserts at your fingertips. Easy access, located on the bayfront, environment friendly, and our staff are approachable and ready to assist. Have you figured out who we are? You got it. Fresh your one stop. Everybody don't count and your pocket don't hurt you. Fresh market. Everybody love my day. Fresh market.
Dominicans, enjoy your property, protect your property, you homeowner and businessman, protect your property, enjoy your property, can't wait for the hurricane, can't wait till you flood again, till your roof fly out and all your business coming out. Remember, no insurance company will insure your property when a storm is approaching. Get ahead of the hurricane season. Insure with a company who gives you the assurance of payment for your valid claim. Come speak with us today at the New India Assurance Company Limited, upstairs AC Shillingford and Company Limited, 24 King George Street, Roseville. Bring along an up-to-date valuation from a qualified engineer and get insured today.
All you me Bell Bagay, the biggest mini one day only me Bell Bagay market sale. It's happening in Shimenef in Port Michel on Saturday, August 2nd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. All tradesmen, housewives, carpenters, vendors, chefs, boutique owners, carpenters, homeowners, gift buyers, gift senders, gift givers. Bring your family, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your business partner. Everybody is taking home only Bell Bagay. From Shimenef in Port Michel, August 2nd, by bus, by car, taxi, by foot, bicycle, mobilette, and tricycle. Come early to avoid the rush as everything must go. Coffee makers, hot cups, for petty tool, portable drills, handle tools, multiple speed, protein vegetable blender, juicers, oyster mini choppers, hyper tough, rechargeable handy power saws, hair dryers, lady spin brush, hair sets, and it's all occasion fashionable shoes, and so many other me Bell Bagay products to choose from. For one day only, Saturday, August 2nd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Shimenef, Point Michel, Saturday coming.
When devices are down and boredom strikes, snacks save the day. Stock up on juice boxes, fruit snacks, and the delicious Bisque Farm biscuits available only at Isa Trading Limited. We're not just a store, we're making a difference for you this hurricane season.
All right, somebody's saying there via WhatsApp message, Matt, do an analysis of the 2022-2023 budget, 23-24, and tell us what percentage of the various allocations were actually spent. On average, allocations to the ministries were underspent, some as low as 30%. The other 70% are unspent and remain on paper. As we say, money on paper. Tropical Erica 2015 and Hurricane Maria 2017 severely impacted Kubli Bear and Water Factory. Given the high risk involved, why would government want to go back on that location to invest, knowing how vulnerable this area is? Government allowed the equipment to be exposed to the elements for over 8 years, and now they want to invest. Isn't there other alternatives in terms of location? Secondly, I think this is just a reaction to Dr. Thompson's 10 pillar project. And of course, we want to concentrate somewhat on the health and the hospital. Joshua, you've been monitoring what's going on in the hospital?
Yes, of course, the nation has been crying. There has been wailing a national thief concerning health services in Dominica. From a consumer point of view, patient's point of view, Dominicans have had a long list of grievances with the disposal of medical services at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. And to compound with that, or parallel to that, the professionals who have been working at the hospital have had concerns to the point where a few of them have had to leave the state in search of jobs elsewhere. Part of the education for export in Dominica, part of the brain drain situation. And sometime this year, I'm aware that a couple of professionals left the hospital to go to a neighboring island to work. And one of the reasons they would have left is the low salary relative to our neighbors. We continue to pay our healthcare professionals very little. Plus, we could add the administrative glitches which are at the hospital. So, in response to some of these concerns, the government has decided to introduce new ideas, again, paper ideas, in an effort to improve services at the hospital. It is said that there will be an appointment of a full-time executive chairperson to improve leadership, accountability, and quality of patient care.
Does that mean that the new CEO is going somewhere?
Well, maybe. And it also suggests that there has been a problem with leadership. because the way in which this has been coined, one can reasonably infer that there has been leadership issues with the administration of the hospital.
My information suggests that this is not a yes lady.
Well, whatever issue, but there appears to be an issue. And there is also the appointment of a clinical director equal in rank to the CEO to focus on medical services and better address patient concerns. And then this is flanked by appointment of an accreditation coordinator to guide the hospital toward meeting international healthcare standards, creation of a patient support unit to improve communication with patients and families and ensure better services. Again, that reflects the government acknowledgement of medical malpractice at the hospital in some cases, and sadly, the aggrieved parties may not have not been able to get recourse within the legal framework because there's some challenges in suing the state when it comes to medical malpractice. And it goes on, based on the budget address, the medical professional bill and the nursing and midwives bill to be brought to Parliament in September 2025 to improve healthcare professionalism and patient safety. They will continue to roll out a new nursing structure which was introduced last year, creation of 11 new medical specialist posts from August 1st, 2025 with permanent appointments. Again, everything with this government appears so late.
What I'm saying. But have these positions been filled? The specialist?
Well, they said they're going to create those positions. As to who is going to fill the position is another question. I mean, again, there is also, whilst you're on that, we'll come back to that. They said that there will be an approval of improved salaries for specialists and other medical staff by August 6, 2025. So they're going to improve salaries. By how much are they going to improve those salaries? Are the salaries going to be attractive? Are the salaries going to cause our trained specialists, and we have quite a number from Dominica working in the diaspora, to want to come back here in Dominica? And that is one of the problems with this government. It has not been able to retain its people, and simply because it has failed. And this budget is one of the weakest, if not the weakest, of this government in the last 25 years.
You're making a point, because doctors in Dominica, from just having a conversation, maybe earn maybe $4,500 a month, as compared to just in the United States that maybe earn that kind of money in a week, in a couple of days.
Matt, you don't have to go to the United States. I'm aware, for example, in places like Anguilla and Antigua, specialist doctors get three times more than Dominican doctors. Now, one may argue that the cost of living in Antigua and Anguilla and some other places may be higher, and that is true. But you measure the differences based on disposable income, meaning that after the spending power. So after a doctor would have expended part of his salary in Antigua, he would be left with a certain amount that is far greater than what a doctor would retain after his or her expenditures.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are very good points. And the other issue in the healthcare thing, again, it's lack of visions, lack of innovations, lack of creativity. I mean, everybody can say, hey, let's increase salaries, let's put on paper that we will have some new specialists, but it shows a certain lack of creativity and a lack of innovation in addressing the problems. You do not have to take the obvious approaches to everything. In fact, we need to be creative to solve our development problems. Why couldn't the government come up with a strategy of working with, as you indicated, external partners, trained Dominican specialists, telehealth services, integrated services, primary health preventative services that will actually do something to transform the health outcomes of Dominicans? Do something creative, do something innovative, right? Find ways to, in a resource constrained situation, to come up with creative ideas that solve the outcome problem. Because at the end of the day, what we want is healthy, well taken care of Dominicans, and there are many paths to that. And this government simply does not do a good job at finding solutions that are feasible. Matt played the clip with the prime minister saying government is a serious business and you must take serious business, right? And he given this sense of gravitas and self-importance and seriousness. But when you really look at what he does, what his government does, it's not serious at all. It is not gravitas at all. It is not sober. It is not well thought out. It's not professionally done. And so he says those things to give Dominican a sense of seriousness. He's a serious, good leader, and there's serious things going on. But when you look at the execution, when you look at the outcomes, they're very poor. And the last thing I'll say on this is, instead of all this input criteria and metrics that the government put out there, we shall do this on paper, it's not going to be executed that well, and it's going to stay on paper. But even if it was, I would much prefer to have heard the government say, we are going to publish the number of unnecessary deaths. We are going to publish the amount of we spent on each patient. We're going to give metrics of outcomes so that we as a community can monitor what is going on in the hospital and see improvements year after year. That is the sort of initiative the government must take if it really wants to improve lives in Dominica, not just in health, in everything else. Show us the outcomes and show us what we're doing year after year to make Dominican people's lives better in a measurable way.
One of the major issues that were brought up there in that budget, they spoke about increasing the minimum wage. They did not point as to what or how much, but they said by October they'll increase the minimum wage. Can that be a reality, given the status of our economy?
Yeah, well, Matt, just to corroborate what you stated, the Labor Standards Act, again, I'm reading from the budget address, grants the minister the authority to fix a minimum wage by order, and that in 1997 a minimum wage review was ordered. But the recommendations of the Minimum Wage Advisory Committee were never implemented. It was not until 2008 under this administration that a revised minimum wage was introduced. Again, the government is trying to give itself some credit, suggesting, well, no previous administration really did it. They did a review, but they did not do it. And we did it in 2008. Furthermore, in 2021, the government continued to undertake a further review in 2023. Remember, in 2021, we saw an increase in minimum wages for cleaners, for cashiers. It moved from $450 to $750. Now that's minimum wages, just for classified workers.
How much of that was implemented, though?
Well, it was implemented. It took effect, but we're going to comment on that momentarily. And now the government is saying we're in the process now of implementing some new increases in minimum wages. Now let's break that down. It is possible. I mean, again, on paper, you tell an employer do not pay a cleaner nothing less than $9 an hour. Well, Matt, how many people are going to be impacted by this increase in minimum wage? That's one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, a thoughtful government would focus on economic growth to allow the prosperity of businesses, and naturally, inevitably, proprietors would raise not just minimum wages, but increase wages and salaries. Again, that is where the invisible hands of demand and supply comes in. But this government has not created an environment for businesses to thrive to a point where proprietors naturally will take it on their own to say, Ito, you have been earning $2,000 for the past 2 years. I'm going to increase your salary to $3,200. People do those things when they realize profits. You as a proprietor, you won't be in a hurry to give Ito an increase if you are just borderline, you're breaking even. And that is a struggle that a lot of small businesses have here. They are not able to increase wages and salaries because they are not doing that well. The government is the public service, I told you earlier, for the past 25 years, public servants realize just an increase of 9%. So on paper, again, when the government is going to increase minimum wage, it sounds good. It sounds like this government is working and ordinary people are going to benefit.
Right.
But the difference is not going to be significant. Minimum wage is like when you just started working, or if you're working for a period of time, you're getting $7 an hour. Now you're getting $8 an hour. That is not going to correct the inflation issue that we have in Dominica. In other words, people's lives are not going to be transformed.
I think that somebody else is suggesting that he was reacting in that budget to a suggestion from the leader of the United Workers' Party that he says when the economics are making a lot more sense, he can going to improve it to $12. So I think it was a more reaction.
Yeah, probably. Go ahead, Ito.
But interestingly enough, if you heard his response when Thompson suggested a minimum wage part of the 10-pillar program,
right,
he was like aghast. Right, his reaction was, "No way! This is poor economics. Thompson doesn't understand economics. This is going to crash the economy." Mm-hmm. Now he's coming a few months later, weeks maybe, and saying, well, yeah, I think it's a good idea after all. Somehow the economy is not going to crash anymore, and somehow we're going to do it. Now,
that reminds
that's
me.
inconsistency.
No, but that
Yeah.
reminds me of when Lennox came back from some trip and he said, marijuana is a good way to go, and
Yeah.
they said he was smelling marijuana. Now
Yeah.
they jumping
Now
on
his
board.
symposium is all over the place because it's
Hypocrisy.
incoherent. It's a matter of incoherence. This government cannot be coherent because it has no strategic plan. It has no strategic core. It has no strategic interior. It is just smoke and mirrors. So whatever that smoke and mirror reflects, mostly the reflection from suggestions from people like us out there, it will just reflect it. But there's no internal coherence to this because there's no strategic agenda for this government.
And there's ambiguity to add to that. Let me just read this to you. The minister says, however, remember he said that in 2023 there would have been a review. Then he says, however, this review was delayed, that is in 2023, due to the challenges brought on by COVID-19 pandemic. Accordingly, and in keeping with the Labor Standards Act. Now, even before I go further, how did COVID affected a board to meet to discuss a raise in minimum
They
wage?
don't have Zoom apparently.
So something is not right. Then he goes on to say, he said, adding that at the time of approval of the new minimum wage, accordingly and in keeping with the Labor Standards Act, the Minister for Labor will appoint a minimum wage advisory board to review existing wage rates and to make recommendations for new minimum wage levels. So, Matt, the point is we don't know what the minimum wages, the increases are going to be. So they left it ambiguous.
Exactly.
So they put it out there to give some kind of hope.
Right.
Things are going to get better.
I told you they reacted to the $12 that Thompson, spoke about a couple weeks ago.
Matt, do not. I don't know for you, but I don't expect any significant raise.
You don't?
No, I don't, because the government itself has already alerted to us that CBI revenue is on the down.
Significant decline.
It is in the decline. Hence the reason why they're out there, begging inland revenue. Hey, go and get the proprietor to pay his tax. And they're looking at an increase in tax revenue.
out there to give tickets.
Right.
Notice.
Yeah, if you notice, they're looking for revenue. They're searching for revenue. They're trying to get more out of taxation. And we'll get to that probably in a subsequent program.
Well, let's take a phone call. Sorry about that. Somebody's calling. Yeah, well, go ahead. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So do not expect any significant increases in wages and salaries. It's unlikely to happen. The government is already crying, and we better tie our waist because things will not get better, Matt.
Well, hello, talk to me. Yes, are you there?
Hey, Mr. Pelte.
How are you, sir?
Good afternoon to the rest of your panel. Matt, all I'm saying, this is not a government that care about people. Out of the blue, you come there reducing taxes and this thing. For all these years gone by, in Parliament, this government have been increasing taxes. But all of a sudden, an economist and a political party, Thompson Fountain, tell me which one of the things that they put in the budget that Thompson Fountain was not addressing. So you see, it's not because the government care about people, they're doing that, but they're playing partisan politics with that nonsense on people. They don't care about people. If they really care about people, why don't they actually just decide, all right, let's bring the VAT down to 10%. Let's just take out a 5% on the VAT and put it to 10%. No, they're not doing that. And is it for about 6 months? I heard, is it for about 6 months, Matt?
6 months, 6 months.
Why 6 months? So Dominicans don't deserve having less VAT for more than 6 months. 6 months you bring down the VAT for? My brother, these people need to go, and Dominican people need to understand they need to get rid of those people. Those people holding you back from actually progressing and prospering. For all these years, these people have been holding down Dominicans. Some Dominicans go to their graves with their talent and their skills and couldn't make it because of Roosevelt Kerry and his type of wicked policies, my brother. People in Dominica need to realize that and stand up and decide we cannot take that no more. Let better be so we can have better in this country. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We heard the rubbish trucks are coming.
But Matt, let me make one point related to what we're talking on the minimum wage. I don't expect any increase to outdo the inflation rate. So in essence, your spending power has not increased at all. I mean, if inflation goes up by 3% and the minimum wage goes up by 3%, you have made no progress at all. And if it goes up,
you're back to the same.
and if it goes up by 2%, you're actually behind. So it's all smoke and mirrors of this government, because inflation is rampant here, and this rise in minimum wage might come to absolutely nothing in terms of spending power.
Yes, but we're talking about
Yes,
the
of
rubber
course.
structure I heard that will come in.
But again, man, this government is reactionary. Ito said earlier that this government lacks a strategic economic program, and that is true. Because when you look at the budget addresses year after year, you see a number of repetitions, you see disjoints, you see incoherence, and you do not see anything that's part of a long-term strategy. A visionary government sits it as short-term policies to invoke and to bring economic growth over a year or 2 years, and it has middle-term policies and long-term policies. This government is just knee-jerk reactions. Because take, for example, we're talking about these garbage trucks. Prior to the current situation we have, the garbage trucks, the lack of availability, did you hear the government talk about garbage disposal? Were you aware of any policy in regards to garbage collection in Dominica?
Not really.
We had to get to that point for the government to consider its response, and that's its response. 6 new garbage trucks procured. 2 will arrive by August 1st, 2025, and 4 more by early October. Do you have confidence that's going to happen, man?
Well, they spoke about it some time ago, but I guess it's now become a reality. But they have spoken about it for some time.
All right, well, let's hope that happens, because
let's hope it becomes a reality.
Yeah, and that must and should happen, because right now the country is dirty. This country
is in a mess.
It's in a mess, Matt. You're being very polite and very generous with your kindness. The country is dirty. This country is supposed to boast itself as the nature island of the Caribbean, nature island of the world. We promote ecotourism. We promote cleanliness. And we had to find ourselves in that situation for the government to sit around the table in determining how it's going to deal with garbage disposal. But let's be positive. They also put it on paper. A new landfill will be identified to ease pressure on Stock Farm and serve more communities.
By the way, this is overdue by over 15 years, because the original evaluation showed that the Stock Farm site was due to be replaced and would be filled and past capacity up to 15 years ago. So the fact that they're coming with this now, again, as you said, reactionary.
Yeah, reactionary. I mean, that location was never the best in the first place, because you're looking at densely populated neighbors and areas. Even as we speak, I'm not too sure whether the smoke situation has finally been eliminated, resulting from a fire which occurred at the landfill some time ago.
Somebody brought to my attention that the finance minister said in his presentation that site passes, the passes that the people go to, has been moved from $12 to $50, and that's a big jump. The tourists, will they stay away as a result?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, relative to most places, it's still small.
That's 12 easy.
Yeah, it's still small. I mean, that's just about
the
operators.
Yes, the operators, from my understanding, are quite upset about the increase, because there's some uncertainty how it will actually play out. So, I mean, I do agree. I think, Josh, that it's kind of low, still relatively low, but I think again, you have to have the dialogue with the site operators to make sure you have the correct process of rolling these things out. So there's a lot of talk and a lot of
because remember, they have to pay, let's just say, for example, 20 US to go to, say, Trafalgar Falls by a bus operator,
right?
And then when they get there, you have to pay another 20 US to the site. So that could be a challenge.
Yeah, that could be some disincentive. In fact, it almost certainly be some disincentive to some people coming from the boat and saying, "Hey, I'm not paying $40 for that," right? So it's something that has to be thought through again and again. You have to have the dialogue with the stakeholders, like the tour companies and so on, and say, "Hey, what do you see from your experience dealing with these people? How much are they willing to pay, and what impact do you think?"
There must be a discussion.
There has to be some dialogue. You have to do these things rationally.
Any talk there in the budget? I don't know if I heard that about the cruise village.
No, I did not see.
specifically, no.
Right, no, I did not. But
Not in Marina either.
yeah, but Matt, before we move on, because I do have some figures here in regards to
Mhm.
the non-tax revenues, but we were talking about the garbage collection, and I was just highlighting some of the points which were taken from the budget address concerning garbage collection. So there is also garbage collection will be decentralized, trucks will be based in districts, and local authorities will help manage and monitor the process.
And
Again,
you have to pay a fee.
yeah, well, that's good. I mean, that is well intent. If that were to happen, that would be
But
fantastic.
not everybody can pay that fee.
Yeah,
Joshua.
but we have to take responsibility for the environment. We need to clean the country.
That is true, but remember, there is already a fee, an environmental disposal fee levied on every import that comes into Dominica. The amount of money raised by that fee, which is specifically for disposal, is far exceeds the budget of the Solid Waste Management Corporation.
But the
So
government,
we have to
no,
ask ourselves,
no,
where is that money going?
That is a very important point. Where is that money going?
Where is that money going? And how is it after all this time, after all this money from this environmental fee that should be funding this disposal, now you come in and talking about new trucks that should have been doing every year from that money, from
Yeah.
the
So,
disposal.
what? I
Where's
think
that money?
they use that money to go elsewhere.
They're filling gaps with that money, but that is bad management. That money was allocated
For that purpose. So now
you shouldn't be buying cheaper trucks right now.
Right.
That should be an ongoing management process from those funds and those fees.
Yes,
Where is that money?
That's a very important question.
Yeah, but going back to the tourist site and the user fee adjustment, you call this non-tax revenue. Again, the government is looking for money. The government is out there looking for Bernard for him to pay his taxes, looking for you, Matt, for you to pay your taxes. And the government has its eye on non-tax revenue. So it's decided, oh, let's go to the tourist sites. Maybe we can get some money out of this tourist. So the day pass, as it is right now, $20. All ecotourism sites except Whitey Kubuli National Trail. Week pass, $50. And that's US, Matt. And T2 Gorge.
US for what?
Yeah, if you want to go out to the ecotourism sites.
Is it 20 US?
20 US for a day pass, 50 US for the week.
You want 20 US a day?
Yeah, we're talking about that. It's not applicable to you as a local.
Oh.
Yeah, T2 Gorge and Coral Sufria will be added to the list of fee-paying sites.
So how much do you pay for a day?
20 US.
And 50 US for a week?
Yes, correct. So you get your pass. If you want a week pass, you pay 50 US. If you want a day pass, you pay 20 US.
So you get 50 US to go to the different sites for a week?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, it says a week pass.
Okay.
And they have pre-sold organized storage remains at $3 US. Whitey Kubuli National Trail fees remain unchanged. Residents of Dominica exempt from these fees. 30 US tourism visitor levy may be introduced effective January 1st, 2026. Exemptions, residents of Dominica will not be required to pay this fee. Again, the government is looking for funds. CBI money is drying up. Government recurrent expenditure has to be taken care of. The capital projects have to be taken care of.
Guys, so we're coming to the end of our program this afternoon. But forward thinking, how do we resolve? Joshua, I'm going to ask both of you and Mr. Ito, if you were the Prime Minister, what kind of budget would you present to the people? Let me ask you first.
Matt, I will keep it very simple. A job creation budget. I'm not even saying an economic growth budget because you can realize economic growth with zero employment. I would look for a job creation budget, a budget that would certainly make the enabling environment more conducive for an expansion of the private sector. In that regard, I would provide incentives such as tax holidays, not just for 6 months or a year or 2 years, maybe for 5 years, to encourage investors to come into Dominica. Of course, that is not in isolation. For 5 years, Matt, you have to create an environment to encourage people to come into Dominica to invest, because clearly we are not producing.
So we're overtaxed then?
Well, Matt, our government is the largest employer in Dominica, and as the Prime Minister, I would want to change that. I would want government expenditure to be less or lesser than investment in our national income. And for national income to increase, we need investment, we need investors. And we do have Dominicans who are wealthy living abroad. We would have to find a way from our brain bank, something that the government should have done already, make an inventory of the wealthy Dominicans who are out there and have a word with them, see whether they would be interested in coming here to invest in something. I definitely would do better to expand our financial sector, of provision of financial services. We passed this Virtual Assets Act a couple of years ago, but I'm not too sure how much the country has realized from this virtual assets license and offshore banking and so on and so forth. So money services, I would try to make the sector more conducive for investors to come in here. Certainly, Matt, I would cause certain measures to grow agriculture, and not just ordinary agriculture. I believe in organic farming. There is a premium price now being paid for organic products. Dominica has all the right environment to get into organic farming. So I certainly would cause an increase in the allocation of resources towards agriculture. I would certainly realize what the Prime Minister offered Dominicans many years ago to invest in a cargo boat to facilitate the transportation of agricultural produce within the region. Both north and south, Matt.
Yeah.
Yes, I would invest in social programs such as the construction of a rehabilitation center, because we really need to help our young people. I would see to that we have more youth training schools with all these facilities now, these huge primary schools that we are building that will be underpopulated. Part of it or a wing of it could be used as a training center for vocational programs, especially for discouraged young men who are on the block, try to get them into some training program. I definitely, Matt, would be involved in more local production, agro-processing, provide the environment, provide the monies to encourage people to get into agro-processing, stop having our fruits being wasted. Definitely, Matt, I'll be involved in agro-processing, small and light manufacturing industries. We need that. We need to start producing again. We need to export. So my budget would be a production budget. And in that regard, that is where the public-private partnership would come in, not a collusion or the private sector working hand in hand with the government, but the government creating the environment for the private sector to grow. Definitely, my budget would spend a lot of time in that. So ultimately, Matt, what I would want to see from my budget would be more jobs created, more economic activity in the country, more reasons why Dominicans would want to stay and to come back to Dominica. And that will only happen when the economic situation gets better. And for it to get better, we have to put people to work. We got to put people to work. The government really needs to get people to work. Until and unless we get our people to work, then we're not going to go anywhere in a hurry. And of course, in the interest of time, Matt, I probably would say definitely my budget would try to reduce public borrowing, because public borrowing is on the rise. And in view of the fact that CBI monies are dwindling and the tax base is also dwindling, the government would have to be innovative in creating an environment to rebuild the tax base, to cause growth, economic growth, to cause more employment, to get more foreign investors to come in here, to get our educated people to stay here, to improve the social landscape. We did not even get a chance to talk about gun violence and social decadence and so on and so forth. But I'm hoping that in the near future we can have that conversation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ito. The final words, maybe yours.
Yes. I think
if you were the Prime Minister,
if I were the Prime Minister, yes, I think in a few words, I would create a transformational budget. A strategic transformational budget is what we need in Dominica. There's a theory in economic development that says, called the big push theory. It basically says, unless you put enough strategic resources into some strategic buckets and really put heavy resources into it, the little incremental things that you do may start getting you up the hill, but you will slide right back. You have to have a big push strategy that gets you over the hill, gets you over the activation energy necessary to create new industries, which would of course create new jobs and so forth. So my budget, any budget, if I were the Prime Minister of Dominica, has to be transformational, innovative, very intelligent, and looking to transform Dominica into a first world country within 20 years. That is the sort of vision that will drive a strategic plan. That is the sort of vision that will inspire people to work together. not this little thing with a few corned beef tins on a shelf. You cannot take that approach in a developing country. You need vision, you need passion, you need innovation to transform the country. And so I would put, and I've said that many times, very heavy resources into developing an export economy based on our knowledge skills. Train our students within the schools to be able to access the 21st century industries, like analytics, like cloud computing, and all those things. We can do it. We just don't think enough about ourselves to be able to do it. So I would put that money that's going into a sort of a bland, vanilla type of education program into strategic education programs with camps aimed at those skills. The other thing what we must do is develop the experience economy and say, Dominica, when you come to Dominica as a tourist, you're going to get an unforgettable experience. Adventure tourism, all sorts of different experiences, because that's the authentic experiences that are valued in the world now. And so I would put money into creating that sort of experience economy into very strategic ecotourism type of ventures. But you have to put real money into those things. Not 10 million, not 12 million, but you have to put significant funds so that you can transform this country into something different and market Dominica internationally, which takes good money, and having people in strategic cities all over the world marketing the country. Transformational, big, hairy, audacious ideas, not this little flimsy sort of economy plan that this government puts forward. If you want to know what the budget of Dominica is going to look like, just listen to the news and the commentary the year before. And then you will see it reflected in the budget as some. It's just like Calypso.
A repetition then.
If you want to know what's coming out in Calypso, is the news from the year before, then you'll see it in Calypso. It's the same thing that this government does. And so my government would not at all take this approach. It would be transformational, strategic, focus on the knowledge economy, the experience economy, on production, focus on energy exports and transformational ideas in those areas, and really get the Dominican public behind it. But beyond that, I will institute a mechanism that says these are the outcomes that we want to see, not just the budget numbers. So when I come back to you next year, I say, look what we have achieved based on the metrics that we set. We would accomplish X number of jobs. We would accomplish X number of new industries. We would be into the knowledge economy for X number of people. Here's where we are. Here's what we're doing. That is sort of transparency and transformational leadership that we need in Dominica.
Dominica is it. Mr. Ito, Bernard Ito, the Dominica Freedom Panel leader, and of course, the spokesperson for the UPP. You'll hear more of them in the near future. We need that kind of discussion going forward, huh? A building country with different ideas. I'm gone until tomorrow.
My heart is heavy, my soul not free. I feel this every day. Maybe I'm just guilty. Dominica has become this way. Where our people are standing on political mischief and division. Politicians control citizens as them so before God, before land, before church, before family and country. Here Dominica, my true confession is what I didn't do. I watched you suffer, for my allegiance was to someone else, not you. No commentators, many in numbers, the patriots of you. So it's no wonder we are where we are. We did not stand with you. Whoa. Now we are best in poverty. Roots of a misplaced loyalty. Now we must the man to country, each and everybody, beginning with you. Lots of signs, but none so kind as we who will not see. Loyalty to party is the road to poverty. As the vision brought us progress, our people enjoying success. It is already late. Come, let's grab our faith and repatriate our hearts, our minds to our country. Dear Dominica, my true confession is what I didn't do. I want to suffer, for my allegiance was to someone else, not you. Oh, all your exploiters, many offenders, the patriots of you. So it's no wonder we are where we are. We did not stand with you. Oh, now we live with hostility. Roots of our means place loyalty. Now we must go back to country first immediately, beginning with you. It won't be easy, change is hard, everything has its price. But for children and country, it is worth the sacrifice. The past is past that we cannot change, but our present and future remains. Take a good look around. We have lost so much ground. Turn around, come around. Your loyalty belongs to this country. Not that party. In Dominica, my true confession is what I didn't do. I watched you suffer. All my allegiance was to someone else, not you. Oh, all your exploiters, many in numbers, in the patriots of you. So it's no wonder we are where we are. We did not stand with you. Whoa, now if we are in this honesty, fruits around this place loyalty. Now we must learn man to country, each and everybody, beginning with me. Attends. You dis down there, c'est ça ok, ouais. We bought the table planté, c'est ça qu'a récolté. On va dire au bas, qu'à toi c'est fait. Qu'à attendre la loi, la terre pour changer. Qu'à fait mal, en toute façon. Mais yo l'évite, yo pour avancer. Qu'à fait bon, mais vous laisse beaucoup. Se me chapi tenki in meye. La vida, kato ve dise chou pou fe mal, me yon chou pou fe bon. La vida la, même si c'est qu'on est, tu me ou que trouver la vérité. La vida, pour nous que me force là, que me force la guetta. La vida. Save ourselves, give me. To that guy we let us be coming. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Iba mis enfants qui fait mauvais, si qu'après on l'obité, pendant qu'on capone, pour qu'à ça on aide, ça on laisse tomber. Parce que on était en care, ça qui reste, on le prend, un piano, on les continue de faire des fautes, juste ça, des baisers pour enfants. Le conchime, derrière. La vida, il y a l'occasion on l'eau monde les tourner la vérité. La vida, ta fue moitié ouvert, ta fue un y ou t'en chambé tout sous la terre. La vida, ouais tu, plus on est les ennemis au péché. La vida. Why, Mimi allocation, on l'eau moulée, mais la vérité, la vida, à quoi passer ouvert, à quoi y ou t'en jolie juste sur la terre, la vida, ouais tu, après tu, plus mêlé, c'est plus gros péché, la vida, why, not be that complicated. Not be that complicated. What the boys I hear, people in despair, wanting me to think about their suffering, people struggling, struggling. And those who need to hear how much do they care when they driving fast. They lose tinted glass. They look out, but they refuse to see. I continue to be indebted. Your desire, my command. But can a government be impacted by a mere Calypsonian? The one they Calypso to be a guitarista. Alright. Give me melody and words and a voice and I will go there. But left to me alone, I would not dare. Oh no. The pleasures of life are all I've been living for. But you want a full blessing, I need a chance, my leader, and all corruption by it. Even though I may be guilty too, send me, love me, send me, send me. He's the voice of the people, he's the voice of God. Why is the silence of the church so loud? And all the pillars of society, they are partial in their judgment. They never chastise their government. They talk of Jesus like it's history. I have never been one to stand up and speak against wrong. Expose myself to political victimization. But the one they can leave something to be a liberator. Alright, alright, alright. Give me melody and words and thoughts, and I will go there. Left to me alone, I would not tell. Oh no, oh no. The pleasures of life are all that I'm living for. But you want the full singer? Tell Pastor and priest, it's wrong. No practice what you preach, even though I may be unworthy. Send me, love me, send me, send me. Send me, love me. Old men, devoid of wisdom, still trading their souls after money. It's a shame. The young leader, blame his advisors, those who steer the road. The blame is just they take people's survival for a game. And if their works be found in the evil domain, you can count upon King Guy to call them by their name. They want their calypso king to be a liberator. Alright, alright, alright. Give me melody and words and a horse and I will go there. But left to me alone, I would not tell. Oh no, oh no, oh no. The pleasures of life are all I've been living for. But you want the full best, no best. I this best and put wrongdoing in its rightful place. Even though I may have wrongfully sent me, love me, send me, send me. prochaine adolescent. Chou ka comporter ou ta décevant. Ou pas qu'à écouter, ou penser au qui bon Dieu. Ça ou plaît. Tout parler nous parler pas. Pour que quoi, il va bien des total. Mais ça nous dit, nous garder aujourd'hui. Ma kwe tout sa yo beba ou Bakaba tout sa yo ni kou ka di se sa ou Baba yo pa sa pou ben ko Bakaba toujou ni wezon e yo ni to Baba kade bien ki chan la mi anje Bakaba te o de pa men pa ke chanje Baba la jodi pa sa pou teme Bakaba papa il nous fait un chou pour te sortez tous les toits, donc à trouver encore pour toi. Toujours belle parole, ou qu'à jouer qui voit, pas jamais ça, sans pour faire. Toi, mais pas tous les jours, organise ton compagnie en dessous. Mandez pour la pardon, ouais, quand tu garçon, c'est pas bon. Ma kwe tout sa yo beba Bakaba tout sa yo ni kou ka business sa Baba yo pa sa pou pen ko Bakaba toujou ni wezon e yo ni to Baba kade bien ki jan la vi a ye Bakaba e ho de pa me sa ke chanje Baba pou la jodi pa sa pou teme Bakaba papa il nous fait un chou pour te bien Bakaba sa yo ni ou ka di Baba yo pa sa pou ben ko Bakaba toujou ni wezon yo ni do Baba kade bien ki jan la vi ye Bakaba e ho de pa me sa ke chanje Baba la jodi pa sa pou teme Bakaba papa you can pay on sport yeah Come on. Bakaba kayo ni kuka bizeta Baba yo mangata mo bento Bakaba chuni wezo yo ni to Baba kade bien ki jan la vie ye e vole pa me sa ke chanje Baba la jodi pasa tite Bakaba papa il me fait un chou Baba yeah man wanted to become somebody important in my country. When it came, I got my opportunity, but wasted it chasing after money. Now my own people resenting me, my daily trouble overburden me. I'm in too deep, but I can't.